Hi, I'm Neve and I'm here with HeadsUp and Gerry McBride, and we're going to talk a little bit about mental health because that's the topic of the day. So Gerry, I heard you're from Monaghan.
Yes, I'm from Monaghan. It's a real selling point for me.
It's a big feature of I was reading your bio.
The bio for all comedians says like, oh, he's done this, he's done that, you know, he's played here, he's played with these guys, and mine just says from Monaghan.
It's the most important thing. Well, yeah. We were talking about earlier on kind of stigma and people not really talking about their feelings when they're feeling upset or down, or just in general not being very open. So Monaghan would be quite rural.
Yeah, Monaghan would be quite rural. We would generally keep ourselves to ourselves, and it's very of a rural thing, shall we say, that perhaps you're living in the town, you're living close to your friends, you're living to, you know, you could dodge up to so-and-so's house and so on. But say if you're living in the country, your closest friend could be 6-8 miles away. Yeah. If you're young, maybe you don't have a car or anything. So when you go home, that's it, you're home.
Yeah. And do you feel like there'd be more of a closed-mindedness and not much of an openness in places like that where people are so, like you said, far away from each other and not?
Yeah, I mean, like, but I feel it's getting better year after year. I mean, but it's the tragedies that kind of kick things along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When somebody goes and does something too far.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes out that, oh, that poor lad down the road, we should have known, or I always knew there was something wrong with that lad, but nobody ever said it.
And do you, so you'd be aware of that, so would you make a conscious effort to mind your own mental health?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, you know, there'll be times in heightened times of anxiety in life where you would let it slide, and indeed I would be the guiltiest man myself in times when perhaps relationships broke up or things like that you would go into a shell and say, alright, well, we're just gonna, this is a long winter, we're gonna stick this one out, get wrapped up. Whereas in actual fact, you know, when you actually came out and said it to your friends and maybe you weren't feeling all that well, you'd be surprised how many of them would just turn around and go, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you mean. And it's such a great release. You're thinking, you know, why did I sit through, you know, a long period of this when I could have just ended it at any time, or at least made moves at any time.
Yeah, so you feel telling people is the best
Absolutely,
thing.
I mean, it's the absolute best thing. I mean, there's no harm in turning around when someone says, how are you doing? I mean, in Ireland we're all kind of grand.
That's
how are you? So there's no harm in turning around at one stage, and it might seem funny to do it, but just turn around and go, not that well, to be honest with you, you know what I mean?
People respect that.
And it will kick off that they'll just go, oh, what's on? And it doesn't take long just to say, this is annoying me. And they will say, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm on the go.
And in terms of your act, like, would you ever think of bringing issues like, obviously it's a sensitive issue, but would you ever try and bring them in and try and educate people slightly about how big a deal mental health is? Would you ever try and maybe make it funny? Because what's the harm in that?
Yeah, absolutely, but you can't just stop dead and go, seriously, kids. You have to kind of
roll with it. It's
joking aside.
But we're supposed to be laughing.
Yeah, exactly. But you can kind of gain it. I feel like when I'm upstage, if you can't turn around and go, this lad down the road from me, right? But if you turn around and say, I know personally speaking, if you always bring it back to you, then people will be like, oh, that's okay. I mean, like, you know, he's talking about himself. As long as he's not trying to add to the victimization of people, then of course, because then you're just another bully on stage, which is not good at all.
No, well,
in any wake of that, be it for handling mental health issues or anything at all, you know, you can never be a bully. You always kind of got to bring it back to yourself.
And even like you were just saying, like, for example, relationships, would you find like there's a lot of pressure with your job? Like, people are just constantly looking at you and expecting something of you. Do you find that you get a bit overwhelmed by that?
You know, at first, initially, yeah, it was always just, you know, I started comedy, funny to say, around about when I was going through a very, very tough period in life, and I'd never really put the two together and said, well, this happened because of this, but looking back at it, it's obvious that there was some wanting me just to get up and try and emote with people and try and get a message across, kind of get a release. So then I started tackling issues in different ways and talking to people and just generally getting it out there. I've become a lot freer and happier because of it. So the comedy's just gravy at this stage, you know. It's great to get up. It's a bit of fun. It's always relaxing.
So that's kind of your way of.
It's my golf, yeah.
That'd be great.
How are you doing? My name is Gerry McBride. You can follow me on nopunchline@wordpress.com, and I support HeadsUp.